Let's go to Ron Hedlund. Ron, the new State Central Committee member-elect of the 7th District, the Ron Hedlund team of Susan Dewey and Ron, Susan Lascalette from Goochland, and Dewey McDonald and Ron Hedlund, big winners on Saturday. They were the outsiders. They upset those that have the inside track, and they're going to State Central, and they're going to make a big difference. Ron, good to have you, man.
Thank you very much, John. It's such a pleasure to be here today. Did you ever think this day was going to arrive?
No, I really didn't. I was telling so many of my friends that having never done this before, it was an enormous amount of work and time. And would I do it again? I don't know. I doubt it. It was good to win. Had I not won, it would have been like, forget it. But it's just a huge commitment of time. And the thing is, your team of Susan, Dewey, and Ron, my team on the delegate side of John, Ann, and Robert, I mean, we were the ultimate outsiders trying to break into basically the party apparatus. You know, people that have been doing this forever, they know how it's done. You know, they set the rules in such a way that it's almost impossible for outsiders to break in. And both of our teams Saturday were able to do that. And I think you guys...
Well, I'll hand you that, John. But consider this. You may have been an outsider in the 4th District, but let me tell you, what other State Central team had the entire leadership of the Republican Party of Virginia fighting against them?
Well, you did. You did. You had everybody fighting against.
The chairman of RPV and the executive director of RPV were on the record opposing us. And even Chairman Whitbeck said that I did not have the character nor the temperament to serve on State Central Committee. Let me tell you, the vote was 2-1 Saturday.
You had a great victory. And by the way, loved your catchphrase, Susan, Dewey, and Ron. That was pretty good.
It's an easy way to remember everybody.
It really is. But look, they were gunning for you, right? They wanted you out. They spent money to single you out and defeat you. And
yep.
How are you able to win a 2-1 victory with all that opposition?
I will tell you how it was done, and it was done pretty much the same way that Dave Bratt won his primary 2 years ago against Eric Cantor. It was grassroots people on the ground throughout the district, and just like in Dave Bratt's primary, we had people from outside the district volunteering for us. I apologize, but we probably actually took a couple of your 4th District volunteers, actually spent time and energy committed to our race in the 7th District. And we actually had people in Hanover County who used to be part of the 7th District that are now in the 1st District. They committed after their convention they made phone calls. They actually volunteered at registration on the day of the convention. So we had a ton of people outside of the district. We even had people from the 5th District come over and volunteer and help us whip votes on the day of the convention. So it wasn't just Susan, Dewey, and Ron, even though we put an incredible amount of time and money and effort into this. There were a lot of volunteers all across the district and from across the state that pitched in. And let me tell you, we thought we were going to do good at 60%. We outperformed those numbers, and it was 2-1. So a big shout-out to all the volunteers that believed in us and got behind us in spite of the enormous opposition and being outspent probably 4 or 5-1.
So what does this do to the State Central Committee? I mean, what is the makeup now? I know that you basically got two factions. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the State Central. By the way, for our listeners inside baseball, the State Central Committee is the governing body of the Republican Party of Virginia. There's about 80 members, 3 from each district, plus the district chairman. These are congressional districts. Plus, there's RPV people, elected officials. It comes down to there's about 85 or so. But what does this mean? I mean, there were the non-convention folks, one I know in the 2nd District. They won a big victory there. But what does this mean for 2017? Do they have enough votes now to go back to a primary for the state offices, or are they going to keep it as a convention, or what?
Well, that remains to be seen, but I can tell you there were a whole lot of phone calls being made this weekend trying to figure out that answer right there, or answer that question. It's possible we may have a slight edge in the total numbers.
Well,
but
look,
I think we thought we had the edge before and lost out to a primary.
Well, look, I was in favor of the presidential primary. I absolutely think that was the way to go. We had over 1 million people turn out, and I was right there. But you got to remember, for the people, a deal was made, and the deal was that they would, of state central members, that they would do a presidential primary in 2016 and then a state convention in 2017. And here's the thing, Ron. Regardless of how you stand on this, I believe when you make a deal and you shake hands, you have a deal. And all you have is your word. And it doesn't matter to me that there's new people that weren't part of the deal. I think that in order to stop the constant battling and the divisiveness in the Republican Party of Virginia, the first thing you have to do is stand by your word. And I think the deal was made. The deal should hold. Now, I can speak publicly on the air for the 3 state central members of the 4th district that people are putting in the pro-primary checkbox. And I want to congratulate them on their victory. Carrie Allen, our former chairman of Chesapeake, Pete Berkheimer, and Barbara Tatt. They ran great races, and they were elected. However, each of those 3 have told us and made the commitment publicly that they would stand by the deal that was made in 2015, and they would honor a state convention for 2017. And they said that publicly in their campaign. They're all people of integrity. They all gave me their word. I voted for all of them based on that and other things, and I would expect them to do that. So you can add 3 right there. They're going to vote for a convention for 2017 because they said they would. But, Ron, don't you agree, if you make a deal and you shake hands, don't you have to honor that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the reason why I ran for State Central Committee, because some people made a deal, shook hands, even wrote it on paper, and then went back against their word. That's why I ran for State Central Committee.
I think, Ron, as long as Republicans keep doing that to each other, you're never going to be able to unify these factions. Correct. And if you really if you really look at how badly the Republican Party of Virginia is divided right now, you can really trace it back to Ken Cuccinelli in 2012 when he went back on his word to Bill Bowling and Bob McDonnell, went back on his word, stacked the state central committee with pro-convention people, changed the 213 nominating process from a primary to a convention in order to overstep the Lieutenant Governor Bill Bowling at the time, went back on his word. The party has never recovered from that. I think we got an opportunity to stop that stuff. You know what? Let's honor our word in 17. 2018, they can vote for whatever they want. But I think, Ron, you got to stick by your word.
Yeah, we made a commitment. Well, they made a commitment. I wasn't on State Central at the time, and it's up to us to hold them to their word. And like you, publicly announcing how people ran and pledged, and then keep them to their word. And I'll point out that the 7th District, I think, is a shining example for the state on how to come together. If you recall, 2 years ago, the 7th District Committee was 7-12. It was 7 in favor of Dave Bratt, 12 hostile to Dave Bratt. Today, as we speak, the 7th District Committee makeup is now 14-5 favorable to Dave Bratt. And I'm telling you, the 7th District Convention was very well run. No hanky-panky, no... there was an attempt, I will tell you this, there was an attempt by our opponents to keep registration open past the deadline so they could get some of their people to come out and register after the deadline because they saw their numbers. We had such an overwhelming turnout. It was like 2-1 in our favor. So they wanted to keep the registration open beyond the 10:30 deadline, and that got shut down. That was clearly an attempt by our opponents to stack the delegation with some of their supporters past the 10:30 deadline.
How many delegates actually showed up?
Well, for the paid voters, because in the 7th we had that anomaly where it was a mandatory $25 fee if you wanted to vote for State Central Committee members.
Wow.
Of the paid delegates, 1192 was the number that filed, and 663 actually cast ballots.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, roughly half.
Yeah. I think in the 4th District, 250 voters came, and 450 had signed up, so it was a little bit of half. We had a pretty good turnout. But
I'll tell you this, John, we had the same number of delegates, actually a little more, 667 delegates actually showed up at the Henrico mass meeting a couple months ago. Just for a county mass meeting, we had more voters than at the entire 7th District Convention.
Well, you guys are definitely fired up. There's no question about it. A big part of that is certainly your congressman from the 7th District, Dave Bratt. And Ron, again, I want to congratulate you, Susan Lascalette, and Dewey McDonald. You guys were in a great race. You had stiff opposition. Certainly the leadership of the Republican Party of Virginia obviously didn't want you in there, but you were able to win anyway in a 2-1 victory. The people have spoken, right?
Yes, they have.
Good job,
and we owe you a debt of gratitude, too. I'm sure your listeners are happy that today has arrived so they don't have to hear all those commercials over and over and over.
Well, listen, I got to put a plug in here, Ron. Advertising on the John Fredericks Show works. Don't you agree?
There you go.
Would you not agree with that statement?
There you go. Yep. Well, hey, that was good money we spent.
Well, thank you.
We wouldn't have spent it if we didn't think it was worth it.
You guys spent a lot of money with us, and you were reaching the right people at the right time, and those ads were all over the place, and we appreciate that. See, advertising on my show works, right? Because you get to
Yes, sir.
You get to the people that show up to these things. Ron, thank you so much.